All right, so the Bones X formulas. Now, those that were around just a couple months ago, you'd probably know that I was skating the Powell Dragons for a little bit. And I didn't make a full-length video on it. I didn't really feel like it made sense to make a full-length video, but now that I have something else to compare it to, I think it makes a little bit more sense. Now we have a couple of different competitors to the Dragons now. We have the X formulas and the OJ double duros. I went online and I tried to get the double duros and they're completely sold out. So to be continued on this idea, but the double duros seem the most interesting to me, just simply because it's got a core that's a softer urethane and then the outer shell is a harder urethane. So I think it'd probably skate closer to a regular wheel, but feel more like a softer wheel. Almost a year since the Dragons came out and we finally have some competitors. Now me, I've never been a huge Bones fan, but when it comes to wheels, I also don't really care that whole lot. As long as they make my board roll and there's not like flat spotting like crazy, I don't care. But I do have a preference, the Spitfire 99As and the 101As. Either or, I can pretty much interchange between them. I usually stick to the 99A because I feel like it holds your speed better, but that's a discussion for a different day. All right, so this little thing in the package has a bunch of different things that it wants to say. So they're supposed to have a higher rebound, which is supposed to make it so you hold speed better. They have enhanced slidability and grip ratio, softer landings, smoother ride, and then just kind of some marketing stuff. No crust too rough, power through all terrains, the best just got better. Okay, what would I think about these wheels? So right now I've had these wheels on for about 2 weeks and just immediately I'm noticing I actually kind of like them better than the Dragons. They're less of a problem with slide tricks as the Dragons. Now, while in the opening footage you might have noticed that I had a power slide that looked really like I tried really hard but it just didn't go, and then all of a sudden I had it kind of go. It did have a little bit of a break-in period. It was kind of interesting. Like the wheels didn't want to slide almost at all, and now they slide just like a normal wheel. So I think just riding around on them for a couple days is kind of how you got to break them in. I don't know exactly, but they slide now. They just had a little bit of a break-in period. Softer landings. Now, I didn't really necessarily feel this way. I think that maybe just it's got to be slightly softer, obviously, because it's a softer wheel. but I didn't notice any real difference between just like a regular 99A and these, because these are just a 97A. That's what they're calling them. It's just a 97A. I don't know if they've got any specialty stuff, but what made the Dragons so cool was that they were a 93A and they were able to achieve all of these different like features with the wheel. So it actually felt like a 99A. So how were the Powell Dragons better? The Powell Dragons definitely rode smoother, or they slid on like ground like asphalt and like regular park ground a lot smoother, I guess would be a good way to put it. These fight you back a little bit more than the Dragons, but the Dragons definitely slide better, but I definitely like the noise that comes from the bones better. Now, one thing about the Dragons that was pretty interesting was that if you were skating like a rail or even certain ledges, if it had like a lot of metal like all over the side, was that they squealed a lot. Like they would squeal just doing a feeble, a smith, a crook, anything that you really kind of dug in there and pinched, they would squeal. The bones, on the other hand, what they do is they just kind of, they feel just like a normal wheel. They don't make any crazy sounds on rails. They don't, it's kind of an interesting thing, but you get kind of this weird feeling of a softer wheel where it is smoother. It's definitely not as smooth as the Dragons, but it's definitely smoother than a 99. I think that this wheel definitely has its place. Now, the great part about it also is it's not as bad as like the Dragons, where like if you're sliding on a ledge, you don't, and you make contact with your wheel, it doesn't bite nearly as hard as the Dragons. The Dragons, they would bite and they would throw you out of a lot of tricks. So these X formulas aren't quite as quiet as the Powell Dragons. I don't feel like they fit the filmer that wants to get a clip. So I think these are just kind of like an average Joe wheel. They're great. I think if you want something that's got less bite and still does the slide but feels a little bit smoother, these are 100% for you. They're that great middle ground between the Dragons and a regular 99 or a 101. Anyway, if you guys found anything in this video helpful, drop me a like, drop me a sub. It helps out a lot. I will get a hold of a pair of the double Duros just so we can try those out and kind of put all three of them together and figure it out. Anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.